This is Josh and Jay's Excellent Video Game Show.
Hello and welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, KWTF listeners. Welcome, listeners the world over. Welcome, international listeners. Welcome to Josh and Jay's... welcome to the Josh and Jay Show, featuring Rowan Kaiser. I am your co-host, Joshua. I'm joined, as always,
by your co-host, Jay, and we are joined, as always...
Hi, I'm Rowan.
By Rowan. Rowan, MFing the Feech Kaiser. Give it up. Give it up for showing up this week, everyone.
Rowan likes video games.
I like video games.
Rowan, have you ever owned a flight stick?
Yes, but not like the one that you have.
I
got the CH Flight Stick Pro, which is like essentially the flight stick version of a gamepad. You know, it's got like 6 buttons.
It's the stick, but not the throttle.
Yeah, there's no throttle thing. You got a bunch of other doohickeys there that.
But I'm not I don't have rudders, like rudder pedals.
Do they have those?
I don't have track AR hat on.
I played Jedi Knight and Half-Life with the Flight Stick Pro.
Really?
I initially played
because it feels like so you'd be because it's like a lightsaber.
You're wielding a flight stick like a lightsaber?
Well, actually, the original Jedi Knight really did not do the lightsaber with the mouse well at all. So you probably should have used something else. But there's no excuse for Half-Life. Just
yeah, that sounds about as cool as I don't know, using a Wiimote for Wing Commander.
Yeah, well, I've never owned one either. Nor have I ever owned a driving steering. What do you call this?
Oh, sure, the steering
my
column
dad
and the
gets
pedals.
those.
Yeah,
he does.
My dad's big into the racing games.
No way! I didn't know this. I didn't even know you had a dad. That just blows my mind for some reason. It never occurred to me that you came from people.
But he means his inventor.
Yeah, right. Rowan is actually the doctor's name, dumbass.
Yeah, right.
So he gets into it. Does he do do you know if he does the Track AR helmet so you can look around the cockpit?
I don't think he's had a helmet. I don't know for sure.
It's not a helmet. It's just a little. I think what it is a little camera.
Yeah, I don't.
That interfaces with another camera, and it lets the game know where your head is looking, so you can kind of look around your.
It sounds like some proto Oculus Rift stuff.
Yeah. That seems like more of a flight sim thing than a racing thing.
The Josh and Jay Show's getting an Oculus Rift in September.
We are?
Yeah, it's ordered.
So by the Josh and Jay Show, you mean you decided to buy one?
Yes. For the corporation, for us.
Christmas yeah.
Technically, Unwinnable's getting one since they are our corporate overlords.
Yes.
I'm just paying for it.
Congratulations, Stu and Chuck.
Yeah.
I couldn't resist.
Jokes on us.
I couldn't resist anymore. I really want to mess around with that thing, and
I don't blame you.
It segues perfectly into that I'm playing Elite Dangerous right now.
What's up with Elite Dangerous?
It's a space trucker simulator.
That sounds cool.
That's why I got the flight stick. I got the flight stick actually because I was watching a friend of the show, Corey Banks, of Gamers with Jobs.
Hey, I'm Baller.
That's the one. He was playing with the same flight stick, and the flight stick is $40. So it's not
that flight stick was $40.
Yeah, so it's not this huge investment.
This nice looking thing that looks like you popped it off of the dashboard of something in Total Recall. Like it was only $40. That's a good deal. That seems like a good deal.
Amazon.com. Yeah. So it's not like this huge investment, but it totally changes the way it boils down to this. It makes me feel like a space pilot.
Perfect. That's all I ever wanted.
And so Elite Dangerous is one of 2 big space flight sim games coming out. The other one is by Chris Roberts and what's Star Citizen?
Star Citizen. Didn't you?
No. No.
Chuck did.
Chuck has the space garage. I told him if I got it, because all you can do right now
Walking
is
simulator.
I think hang out in your space garage. So I told him
Walking
I'll get
simulator.
it. Hang out in his space garage and we could drink tall cans together and look at our spaceships.
Yeah, that
doesn't it have like
fair.
a really crappy dogfighting though?
If you were it's queued. So like if you back it right now, I don't think you get in. It's like only the first 30,000 people who backed are allowed to dogfight right now. I think with other people.
It seems fair.
Anyway, that's kind of why I chose Elite. I wanted to play one of these games. I didn't
You
have
want?
one.
You mean you actually wanted to play the game?
I
that
want
you
to play
paid
the
for?
game. Yeah, and they both look cool, and the promise of Star Citizen is too good, I think. But so I went with Elite because I saw Corey playing it, and it's pretty rad. Did you guys ever play stuff like this, like Wing Commander? Or
I dabbled in a little bit of Wing Commander back in the day,
starring
like
Mark Hamill?
like at my friend's place who was playing Wing Commander. I never really played it on my
new
own.
Wing Commander. That's the crappy newer shit. You got to get back to the old Wing Commander when it was animated.
I think they're all old Wing Commanders at
But-
this point.
or-
I'm sorry, Wings Commander.
That's the joke, Jay. Like, I still perceive the old Wing Commanders as
My
being
jokes
better.
are too complex for
I was
you.
you're sitting on that for so long. I was waiting for it. Origin, the service, EA's Steam-like service, is giving away Wing Commander 3 for free right now.
Cool.
That's a newer Wing Commander with the full motion video and the porn star as the garage.
What?
They got the porn star who tried to go into acting, Ginger Lynn Allen.
Oh yeah.
They got one of her acting gigs was as the mechanic on Wing Commander 3.
Hello, I am a casual human.
Did she succeed? Did she win an Oscar or anything?
Yeah, she won an Oscar for the video game Wing Commander 3.
the FMV parts.
Wasn't the dude from Back to the Future was in it too?
Yeah, Maniac.
Yeah. The bully,
Yeah, Biff.
Biff.
Oh,
Which is funny because the last time that he was in Wing Commander and Wing Commander 2, he's like this gothed out dude with like skull earrings and crazy tattoos on his face. And then they just brought in Biff to
Nice.
be that guy.
And there's like a Wookiee looking cat creature too. Because
Well, those are the bad guys.
They are?
Yeah,
but I
the
just
Kilrathi are the bad guys.
maybe in 3 they're friends because I loaded up 3.
Well, there's one of them who switched sides.
Oh, okay, because it looked
His
pretty
name
rough.
is Hobbes.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
because of the philosopher.
I hate stories.
Well, I ain't playing that. I'm playing Elite Dangerous. And so I haven't played one of these.
way to lasso that back up to the surface. Jeff.
It's also got Malcolm McDowell, which really classes
Oh,
the
I
joint
remember
up.
that. Yeah. Academy Award winner Mark Hamill and Malcolm McDowell. And a Wookiee with cat ears
And a porn star.
and a porn star.
Yeah,
Walk into a bar.
yeah, the thing looks like a Khajiit from.
Yeah, from
Oblivion,
Oblivion.
yeah.
From Oblivion, though, specifically.
No, Oblivion and the Elder Scrolls stole that from Wing Commander. Wing Commander had the Kilrathi since 1990. That was their thing.
I played Oblivion before I saw that, so obviously that one came first.
You S-ranked Oblivion. We talked about it on our last episode.
Yeah, on our last, that was fun.
That was
It's
fun.
fun listening to that almost 3-year-old episode.
We posted the very first Josh and Jay show last week because of some technical difficulties.
Yeah, if you subscribe on iTunes or
It's
visit
on the site, too.
at unwinnable.com/Josh and Jay show, you can hear our very first show.
What the hell?
But back
Elite
to
Dangerous.
Elite
Okay,
Dangerous. For real this time.
Yeah, so these games are complicated.
Yeah, you got to
gotta learn how to-
tell me about the tall boy mechanics.
You gotta learn how to fly a spaceship, and it's not easy.
Cool.
There's like a billion hotkeys. So I spent a lot of my time when I first got the flight stick just figuring out how to. As much time as Jay spends at a character creation screen, I spent mapping my flight stick buttons.
Okay, I can relate.
Trying like various things, because there's a lot of stuff you got to do. Like when you start Elite Dangerous, and this is how I always start Elite Dangerous because I always die. So I always start from the beginning every time I start a new game of Elite Dangerous.
Is it a roguelike or
No.
that's how you roll?
You just forget to save.
No, I just suck. And when you die, you can restart or pay money to pay insurance to get your ship back. But my ship is the same one you start with.
So there's no point.
Right. Because I've never...
Because you've never gotten to the next step where your
No.
ship is better than
No.
the ship you start with.
No, and if I did, I wouldn't do anything.
You've never bought
I would just fly to a safe zone and park, which is fun, too.
And hang out and drink tall boys.
To drink tall boys with Corey.
Yeah.
And
Chillin' game.
and your mechanic,
and my
Walking
mechanic.
simulator.
Ginger Lynn Allen.
So when you start the game, you're outside this giant starship that has a driveway. It has It has a little spot in it that you need to fly into in order to park. And when you're inside the starship, that's where you get missions and stuff.
Okay.
But just the...
Do you walk around inside the starship?
Not yet. So...
Not yet, because that's an improvement, right?
Not yet, but that is, I hear, coming. Some sort of getting out of your ship.
Because
so.
you really, when you're playing a game where you fly around space, the most important thing is that you can walk around the space station.
You know, I actually think one of the coolest... So Star Citizen isn't a game yet, but it does have a garage that's yours. And I kind of want my own space garage in Elite Dangerous. Because I actually would like to park and walk around my spaceship.
And put up your own posters of the porn stars from Wing Commander in your space garage.
like all about Wing Commander.
Yeah.
Talk to my friends. Hey guys, you like Wing Commander? So parking, landing, what do you call it?
Docking.
Docking.
I'm guessing.
Docking was had a whole learning curve unto itself. So when you're outside the starship, there's a bunch of...
Oh, is it like trying to land in like the original Top Gun game for NES or
Kinda.
something like that? How it was impossible.
Before you do anything, you have to call the starship and request a to land, and then they will assign you.
There's like air traffic control.
Yeah, and they will assign you a runway.
Do you get to play as that character?
Not yet. So it's
If you're $100 tier backer.
it's a Kickstarter game. They've promised the world. You know, who knows what it'll eventually end up being. But you have to request a landing, and then they assign you, a landing dock. They'll say like, okay, you have to go to dock 37, and you have 9 minutes to do it, and there's a countdown because there's other people that need to land. And I'm not the only pilot out there.
That's right. You got efficiency. That's why Southwest tickets are only $60 or whatever.
It's it's online, and I guess everyone should know that. There's other real people in this world too.
Okay.
So
Can you take their docking bays?
no, well, yeah, but
Can
you'll-
like snake someone or
there's
like
space
cut in
police
line?
that will shoot you down if you do anything wrong.
oh
Pretty quick. At least
Bummer.
they'll shoot me down. So you have to request it, and then you have to land. But landing was the whole thing. I had to fly at the right angle because the starship is spinning into this narrow little opening. I had to look and find, okay, there's docking bay 37. Figure out how to get over there. Get my landing gear down. So I got that hotkey now on my HOTUS. Is that what they're called? What are they?
You're what? You're,
Is that
you're
what
presidents of the United States?
Is that what the flight sticks are called? I feel like they're called HOTUSes. I don't know.
Hoder?
And then you have to land. So eventually I was able to land, and then you go into you kind of go to a space elevator with your ship, and it pulls you down into the middle of the space city, and that's where you get missions and stuff. And there's a stock market where you can buy goods, and it'll list like their average price in the galaxy and supply. So I would load
did you
up.
buy a bunch of turnips?
I would load up on some turnips because they're super cheap, and then I would accept a bunch of missions, and then I would eventually fly out of the space station. I'm like, yeah, good to go. And then I would then I pretty much get lost from there. I don't know how to do the missions. I don't know where to go.
It doesn't. There's
I'm terrible at combat.
There's no sort of navigation assistance or.
There is navigation. I think in the missions they don't do a very good job describing where you need to go. And to get to another system though, you have to first go into like essentially hyperspace mode.
You got to find a Mass Effect
Yeah, you got to jump.
generator.
But then it puts you in something called Super Cruise, which is really confusing and unintuitive, which is in between just chilling and hyperspace. And in that mode, I'd say 90% of the time I overshoot my destination.
It's like cruise control for your spaceship.
Exactly. And there's an art to it. I'm sort of still learning it. There's a recommended speed that gets smaller as you get closer, and there's some UI indications of that. But
Whoa, that sounds kind of complex.
it's pretty complex, and I'm not very good at it.
It sounds complex just for the sake of being complex.
Yeah, it's kind of neat that it's complex, though. I'm kind of enjoying that part of it.
I mean, it sounds like the nuances of actually controlling like this hunk of metal
Yeah.
in space
Yeah.
is what it's all about. It's
Yeah, and I'm
all
flying with
it's
all-
all about the little finessey kind of details, right?
Yes, because you're playing. I'm playing in my kitchen. I get into it, man. I got the lights off. I got my flight stick. I like being
just
in
like
my
playing
spaceship.
Just like playing Resident Evil back in the day. You turn
Yeah.
off all the lights and
So I kind of like
Get
that
it going.
it has all this extra complicated stuff. But I'm really bad at space battles. I'm getting better at them, like ship to ship combat. I mean, It's hard. It's hard to turn around in a spaceship. You know, you
Yeah.
gotta lower the acceleration at the right time and then push it back up at the right time. Because the dogfighting essentially turns into jousting.
Sure.
Basically, you're just flying at each other and shooting.
Just like playing chicken with photon torpedoes or whatever.
So I made
Do
some
you have
progress.
a space lance? Some science fiction has space lances.
You might be able to purchase them if you had any money.
Space Lance. You mean like Lance Henriksen? He's a Space Lance.
He has a space lance. He's been in several space movies,
Yeah, I mean, and don't forget like Millennium.
which is like a space movie.
Yeah.
In that
I forgot all about that show.
Well, sorry, I've been rewatching X-Files.
Yeah, that's like the X-Files spin-off.
Is
it the same
It
universe?
was like vaguely related, but not really.
It's Chris Carter though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what they did was in order to end Millennium, they like had a X-Files episode that was like the sort of and gave any sort of closure to the Millennium series.
I think that
it
was
like
the
a
Lone Gunman.
It's like a crossover episode.
Wait, X-Files?
Oh, the Lone Gunman, which is like kind of a weirdly like comic X-Files spinoff. Like, wasn't it supposed to be like funnier, like
Well,
goofier?
the Lone Gunmen were generally like comic relief of some kind.
Was that just a sitcom with those three dudes?
It was a drama, but it was, those dudes are funny.
Yeah, it was goofy.
Would they tackle a different conspiracy theory each week? I never saw this show.
I don't think I saw it either. It was when the X-Files got bad. So,
Yeah, they were really grasping for straws at that point.
but anyway, it got canceled early. So one of the last X-Files episodes was also like a Lone Gunman wrap up.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be that Dwight Schrute spinoff for The Office.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they ended up just kind of, I think, it looks like they just took that pilot and chopped it up and shoved it into the last episode of The Office.
But going back to Lance Henriksen, there was an X-Files episode where Lance Henriksen shows up in it. That's how I know it was like the Millennium crossover. Anyway,
But
not that has
Millennium-
anything to do with...
But Millennium, you mean Millennium was so short that it was... The X-Files lasted longer? For some reason, I remembered it that maybe it was like after the X-Files, but it was during the X-Files?
It was...
like from seasons 3 through 5, or maybe 4 through 6.
That sounds about right.
And that's when they had Terminator guy instead of...
No, the Terminator guy came in like season 5?
season 8.
Oh, it wasn't until that late. It was the season that Mulder was sat out.
Yeah.
Like Mulder sat out for an entire season, and it's not a good season.
Yeah.
People actually are contrarian, like saying season 8 is good, but they're not going to defend season 9, which was the last one. And
Well, I don't know. I think that I mean, my wife and I can't believe she's like so like in 110%. She never watched X-Files back in the
Oh, really?
day.
Are you guys doing it? Are
We're
you listening to the podcast?
I'm listening to the X-Files
I love
files.
that.
I
love that.
recommend everybody if you want to.
Friend of the show.
Kumail Nanjiani, friend of the show.
He's not a friend of the show, but he did retweet you, so I figure that...
He
counts.
seemed like he has a good sense of humor. IRL. But his show is great, and it's been fun listening to his show and watching the X-Files from scratch. The episodes that he suggests you skip are totally skippable too, which is nice to get that guidance.
So
Because
are you
there
guys
are a
watching
lot of
them?
episodes.
Are you watching just the ones from his show? Or...
Well, the first season we watched every episode just cause we wanted. Well, I take that back. There was one episode towards the beginning, the one where they find like a face on Mars or something. It's the worst episode. It's the worst. It's like
don't say that yet.
it's like the 5th or 6th episode of the first season, and it's just I don't think we finished it. But other than that,
That's fun. That's a good time.
the first season, man, I forgot how good it is.
I just watched the first season a couple months ago.
yeah, it's great stuff. But
This will turn into that podcast, though, if we keep talking about...
sure.
I'm scared I'm just going to bring up all the same stuff that he brought up.
Well, they haven't gotten to the Elite Dangerous episode where they investigate your flight stick.
I can wrap
and,
up. I'll wrap up my Elite Dangerous.
There is an X-Files episode where they do like virtual reality stuff, and
I haven't gotten there yet, but
that one's one that's usually called one of the worst.
Dude, I can't wait to strap on the Oculus
There's-
and be in my spaceship.
There
Yeah.
are so many one of the worst X-Files episodes. You have a lot of bad stuff to look forward to, and some fantastic stuff.
Well,
but-
like last night we just watched the Host. We started season 2.
Yeah.
We watched the Host, which is the one
Is that the
about
one with the guy in the sewer?
the radioactive poop monster.
Yeah. Awesome.
That one was super gnarly, and there's like totally gnarly body horror in that episode. It's with like flatworms, tapeworms, and
Fluke Man.
Fluke Man.
The
It's
first time you see the Fluke Man.
the Fluke Man is like something that's like part sea creature, like from old pulp sci-fi stuff. You know, the weird like swamp creature,
And part alien.
and part like something from Stalker, like the Stalker games, because it's about like some radioactive like Chernobyl survivor with mutated
dude-
genes.
The dude who's in the Fluke Man suit is Darren Morgan, who wrote like the 4 best episodes of the show.
Really? Which
Yeah.
episodes are those?
There's one at the end of the 2nd season at the Carnival, and then there are 3 in the 3rd season, which are Clyde Bruckman's Eternal Repose, War of the Coprophages, and Jose Chung's From Outer Space.
Okay.
And then he wrote another fantastic scene in another 3rd season episode, and then he just disappeared. It's like he wrote these handful of episodes that changed television, and then didn't write television.
Maybe
for
he's going to
another
be in Star
12
Citizen.
years.
Maybe. That's I mean, I'm sure they hit that stretch goal, right?
Darren
I love
Morgan.
this. I love how piecemeal this elite conversation is. So when you're in the cockpit, they handle the HUD by when you look to the left and you have some menu options, you look to the right and you have other menu options. So that's going to work really well with the Oculus.
Oh,
You
sweet.
can just kind of look over and see what you need to do.
Is it going to be like Minority Report style?
Yes.
Oh, like we're finally going to have real Minority Report menus?
Yeah, it's like that now, except you don't.
Or MRMs, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
I'm just generally opposed to acronyms.
It's a real game and it's fun. And on one last note, I did make my first space bucks in Elite Dangerous the other night. I made 400 space bucks selling turnips or something.
Oh man, did you run into Pizza the Hut?
God, that would be rad.
That would be rad.
I hope they add stuff like that.
Well, if you can make your own character, maybe someone will make like a Pizza the Hut.
You can't make your own character.
Oh,
Because you can't get out and walk around.
Right,
no,
it
I'm
doesn't
not
matter.
interested. Oh, so
You can choose boy or girl, though.
Which matters when you can't walk around.
It matters when to the internet, evidently.
Excellent.
There was all that Assassin's Creed nonsense.
Well, yeah, but you see those characters.
You can see space boobs or no space boobs.
When you look down in your HUD,
Space boobs.
But they're not.
Rowan, do you care?
They're very respectful space boobs, Rowan.
Josh, do you
It's not
care?
gratuitous. There's no jiggle animation for you to YouTube on your fetish page.
That's so weird. You mean it's not? It doesn't have any dead or alive in this?
No, I don't think so.
well, in space, they don't jiggle the same way.
Oh God! Also, I'm playing with all the stuff to make it easier on.
Let's not give the devs of Dead or Alive any ideas. Can you imagine Dead or Alive space volleyball?
That'd be like 20 videos alone on Rowan's page.
I mean, really, WildStar is Dead or Alive space volleyball.
I guess so.
One last thing.
Sure.
I'm playing with all the assist stuff on. So if you want to get really complicated, you can turn off flight assist. You can turn off when I dock.
So it's like turning off the manual steering on a car, or
Yeah,
the automatic
absolutely.
steering on a car, or something like that.
Yeah.
Gnarly.
See, Kickstarter has done a lot of good things for especially bringing like older game styles that were, disdained for not having enough explosions back, but it's also empowered nerds in a really bad way.
Empowered nerds are the worst.
They're like, we need this to be the most complicated, have the most buttons, have the most different things. You need to have something mapped to every button on your flight stick and your keyboard. And if you don't press the right one to, wipe your windshield, then this
you
isn't
crash.
even a real
But
game.
there's no
Crash
lack
in a
of
blaze of glory.
games that aren't complicated. I mean, it's just giving you more stuff.
There's not a whole lot of, flight sim games where you fly around or space sim games where you fly around and shoot things. There's not like a new Wing Commander out there.
Right, but also I think that I don't know who makes this game, but I think they're doing stuff to make it easier. I think they're going to have like auto landing stuff on your computer if you need it. And
Yeah, but like
it's not that complicated. I'm pretty dense too, so factor that in.
I mean, if you go and play a Wing Commander game, even Wing Commander Privateer, which was their version of this, like, you could figure this stuff out. It's you, not like people, but
if they
you
had,
personally.
It probably had a tutorial.
I think these were the days before tutorials.
Well, were they the days when the first mission is you have to like land? So that's how you learn how to land.
You press A, and that lands you.
There's no landing gear in Wing Commander?
No.
Dumb.
I mean, there's...
Baby game.
I think in Wing Commander... In Wing Commander 3 and 4, I think you can actually like fly into the carrier and then you press stop and you stop. Or, you turn your throttle all the way down.
When I say hard, I mean it like took 20 minutes to figure out. It's just not...
Yeah, I don't see what point there is in figuring that out, though.
So you want a baby Starflight game, and you deserve one.
I want a game where you fly around and shoot aliens.
There's Starfighter for the PlayStation 2. Jedi Starfighter. Oh, what about the Rogue? Those ones for GameCube and...
Oh, I have Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron, yeah, there you go.
Dude, I have Rogue Squadron like for GameCube sitting in for no reason.
Really?
Sitting in my...
What do you mean for no reason? So you have Rogue Squadron.
Well, but I don't have anything I can play it on. That's what I mean for no reason. There's no reason for me to own it because I have no machine that I can run it on. But I have it. It's sitting there.
I have a GameCube. You want to borrow it?
That sounds like you should borrow it.
Yeah. You want to borrow Rogue Squadron?
I'm talking about new things.
Oh.
You're talking about games that are 10 years old, and that's
Well, I
when
mean, I
this
agree with
genre
you.
essentially disappeared.
I agree with you. I mean, this game is notoriously like some old school UK hardcore space sim, right?
Yeah.
Like Elite is meant
Well, Elite
for...
invented the sort of pirates in space genre.
Right, and it could be that Star Citizen will be different. It'll be a little more accessible. I don't know.
Star Citizen, Chris Roberts has had this idea. He did the Freelancer games.
Right, but
in the
those were
early
mellow.
2000.
I played those.
Like those were, they basically gutted his ideas to make them more accessible, but they're still in the like, you pick all your missions and stuff, you fly around and you sell things, that kind of thing. They're in the piratey mold as opposed to
and you don't want that?
I don't always want that. Like that's fine, but I'd like a balance. Like I want one of those, and I want a Wing Commander style game where you get a mission, fly on autopilot, kill some aliens, fly back, kill some more aliens, and then you land.
Yeah. There is a lot of killing aliens in this too. I just don't do that because I'm bad at it.
Well, how are you going to get better?
By doing there's single player training missions that I'm doing over and over and over again.
It
And watching YouTube videos.
It could be one of those games where the training missions don't actually help. It sounds like they're not so good at.
They haven't
It's
added.
it's what we call a pootorial.
It's not done. Like they haven't.
That's
They haven't added all that.
that's what
stuff
I'm going to
yet.
call it now.
It's a pootorial.
I think that stuff is coming. I think it just hasn't been.
Crusader Kings 2 has a tutorial.
pooping
Yeah.
game.
Also, dude, you play Crusader Kings 2.
I played a
I think
lot
you
of
can,
Crusader
You can
Kings
handle
2.
the landing gear.
It's
one
not
button.
that I can't handle it; it's that there's no real point to it. Like Crusader Kings.
No, it's so. God damn, you can't swear yet for the first. We don't swear on the show for the first hour.
I've already sworn.
You have?
You're gonna have
well,
to
it's
find
fucking
it.
killer to put your landing gear down. It's so awesome. It feels so
yeah,
rad.
no, I don't know what you
Better
mean
than
by
sex.
There's lights. You have your ship lights you can turn on.
But to say that there's no point to anything, I mean, you're saying this about a mechanic in a video game.
I'm saying that this feels like it's a complication added because people wanted there to be complications added. Like,
But it sounds like this is a game about complicated
right, and
controls and
I don't
mechanics.
think that that's like a necessary part of that genre. And it seems like with Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous, the nerds have won, and they have made that the part of a genre that I used to
Nerds have
like.
won.
Right, the people who want everything to be complicated.
But I mean, it seems like
I don't
that.
think it's that complicated.
But it's like saying, what's up with I don't know. I can't think of an example, but it sounds like they built the game around the idea that it is complicated to perform these relatively simple task, or what might be a relatively simple task in another game, or something that's
Right,
purely
and
automated.
And I'm saying that these types of games used to be accessible in the past. Instead, it has been taken over by this niche audience who's trying to run
What's
it
taken
into
over? It's the
don't
people
think
who
it's fair to
who
say
wanted
that.
to make a game.
These aren't out yet. Like, you don't know how complicated Star Citizen
But
is.
I mean, these guys had whoever. I mean, if people wanted to play the simpler flight sims or space sims, they could play the older ones. I don't think there's anything wrong
I
with
think that
trying to make something that. I mean, was there anything like this that exists before it that's super complicated like this?
Probably, but I think, I mean, if Rowan wants a less complicated space, I don't know what you want, dogfighting game, then
They're out there, right?
Well, also maybe we'll get them now. Maybe the success of these games will.
I mean, maybe, but you got to have people saying, who wants this complicated bullshit?
You do, man.
It just seems weird to write it off like that. To me, I mean, I assume that you haven't tried it for yourself.
No. I mean, but stuff like this makes me not want to try it. Like, I don't want a game of landing in the spaceship.
Sure, you don't, but I mean, you recognize that maybe some people like Josh
But it's
might.
I also made it more complicated with the flight stick. It was way easier to play it with a 360 controller.
Oh, okay. so the nerds win by getting a flight stick and
Yeah,
playing this
right.
game.
I mean, you still have to do all the same stuff, but that's because I'm familiar with a 360 controller and I've never used a flight stick before. But it's more awesome with a flight stick, that's for sure. I don't know. I think American flags for some.
Always twirling
I
towards
think-
complexity.
I think I want to play the game Rowan wants to play too, but it's not there, so I'm playing this one. So
Exactly, and I
but
want
I'm
it to
happy,
be there.
very happy with what I'm playing. I'm into it.
Yeah, we can only talk about the game that actually exists, right?
I mean, it's part of a genre that I have played and enjoyed in the past, and the resurrection of the genre is going in a direction that I don't like.
I don't know that Elite is more complicated than it used to be, though. It sounds like it's always been pretty hardcore.
I think it.
Also, never underestimate Josh's power of making things sound like way worse than they are.
Yeah,
like
this is
Josh is like, I'm totally like, I'm an idiot. I can't control anything. Like basically, it's like I'm like a 2-year-old.
So this is actually just like Wing Commander, except that Josh is treating it like it's Hearthstone.
Sure.
I don't know, man.
You were there for Josh at Hearthstone.
Watch some Elite YouTube videos.
Well, I'm interested to see what it's all about, and I'm reserving this kind of harsh judgment.
Maybe
until-
we'll do a quick look thing of it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Just
that'd be fun.
I've never. I mean, I can't remember the last time I controlled a flight stick, so that might be fun to see just how difficult it is for somebody who really is like a toddler controlling this thing.
And also, I mean, like landing was difficult when I was first trying it, but now I just fly right in there and land. It's not a big deal. And so the super drives or whatever the hell they call it, where I'm overshooting the star systems I'm trying to go to, I'm sure that will be like nothing to me, after my next play session. It's just there is a little bit of a learning curve. That's okay.
You want to get to that point where what we talked about so long ago in episode number 1 when we were talking about the Driver series. You want to get in that zone where you're just like skimming pixels and you're like
right.
you got you feel comfortable in the however the controls are weighted.
The flight stick is also adding complexity just because I've like a 360 controller I can play blindfolded. I know where all the buttons are. If you hand it to someone who's not used to playing with dual analog, they're always staring at the ground. They don't know what they're doing. So with the flight stick, I don't know where all the buttons are. I'm getting used to them. To complicate that, I've decided to go crazy and map a toggle that changes all the buttons to do different things because I needed more more options.
Well, it's
but
not...
I'm loving it. Like I'm loving this learning curve. I'm not frustrated with this game at all. Like this is super fun.
Yeah, well, it's not unlike learning a musical instrument, like a new musical instrument. I mean, a controller.
I never learned a new musical instrument.
Well,
but all of our listeners have.
But I'm just saying, if
Everyone who listens to this show is in a band.
They are.
No, but I'm sure most people have at least held a guitar, sat down at a piano, and pressed on a couple keys, whether or not they've ever
not
actually
Rowan.
played before.
Rowan.
Sorry, not Rowan.
No, I've done that, and then there's a stage between that and
Right, but that's not my point. My point is that somebody trying
that is
to.
my point.
But you're not the one fucking talking. I am.
Hey, listeners, we're back.
You know,
The
we
Josh
only,
and Jay
we only
show
missed 1 week.
is back.
We only missed 1 week. Yeah. You want to take a break?
We'll take a quick break.
I've been starting over for a long time. I'm not ready for another day. I feel anew. Time is right, I'm only getting older. I'm not ready for the second wave, the weight of seeing
Welcome back, everybody. Jay is doing his deadly premonition impersonation. I'm sure you all knew that already,
But we don't.
but we don't because we've never played that. I love that we're called the Josh and Jay Show now because Chuck didn't know what our show was called. Like that's.
Do you care?
He's like,
Josh.
we gotta get the Josh and Jay Show on Winnable. We're like, okay.
Well, what I like is that he,
Yes, sir.
I think he originally called it the Josh and Jay Excellent Show.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is exactly what my grandmother would have called it. So that was sweet.
It's like my parents with the Games of Thrones.
Yeah.
Did you watch
I
Games
like
of
gay
Thrones?
cowboys.
Oh, good old Chuck. He's welcome anytime. Anytime.
I think sometimes people do that intentionally or semi-intentionally because they don't want to just like buy into the brand. They want to like have a little sense of distance between themselves.
Well, I
with it.
mean, we are so popular that it's difficult to escape our corporate brand
It's
image.
cliche at this point to like our show because
It is.
everybody likes it so much.
Right, so many people like it. It's probably cool to not like it. I don't like it. I mean, that's to
I
be
mean, why do you
sure.
think I've been skipping it?
Exactly. No kidding.
Rowan doesn't like it.
It wasn't food poisoning.
What Jay, you've been wanting to play The Last of Us for a billion years.
Yeah, and I did. I played through the whole thing.
All right, that was cool. So
right,
how about
so-
Final Fantasy Tactics?
Final Fantasy Tactics A2, to be specific.
The Josh and Jay Show featuring no one.
All right, tell us about The Last of Us.
So I spent about 2 hours on what should have probably been the first 15 minutes of the game.
Is that when you were tweeting about the beanbag?
Yeah, I think I was tweeting about the practice amp. This game is so visually overwhelming.
It's the best looking game I've ever played, and I started
Played
playing
Skyrim.
I started playing it on PS3.
It's the best looking game I've ever played. I'm playing, just to be clear, I'm playing it on PlayStation 4, and it looks great. I mean, it looks exactly like what you might imagine, but it's really like wow.
I
with
too-
the frame rate and everything.
Yeah,
it's
I haven't gotten very
really-
far in that game, but I too the first time I tried it, I've tried unsuccessfully to play this game 3 times now. The first time, I too spent way too long in that first room, just like amazed by the detail.
Well, you walk around, and the thing that's so impressive about it are that you start out in a little girl's room, and it's got posters on the wall and a bed and a beanbag chair in the corner and a little guitar with a practice amp. It's a kid's room.
Yeah.
But you get up and you start to notice that all of the assets in the environment are actually carved out. It's not the details, like every little wrinkle and crease in the beanbag chair is not just, the image that's mapped over some like generic globe shape. It's like the actual 3D object
polygons.
The actual polygons have those creases in it. So when you look at it from different angles, like it's just, I've never seen a game do that before. And let alone have so many pieces like this in the environment at once and have it run so smooth.
And it's super spooky walking around that house.
Yeah, it is.
And you can look out I looked out the windows a lot. I remember looking out the windows a lot.
Well, there's in the intro sequence, there's that part where you're riding in the back of the car
That's the greatest thing ever.
And the
yeah.
whole time you can look in 360 degrees throughout all the windows and see anywhere in the environment.
It's how,
like,
how she
moving.
moves when
Yeah.
you do that. So she scampers around the back seat as you're tilting the camera around a 360
Yes.
angle. The player you're controlling, this girl, she's scampering around the back seat to get a better view out the windows. It's rad.
It is. It's just everything about it feels so much richer than any other game. You'd just be sitting there and they would tilt their head and you'd get some sort of field of like 20 degrees one way or another to look out a
Or the
window.
camera would just pan around a person sitting in the back seat, so that the player can see, but the actual character isn't looking behind them.
Right.
But Uncharted has good movement. That new Tomb Raider kind of did a similar thing. Whenever Laura had to squeeze through a tight space, she would do the Uncharted thing where she could put her hands up and against the wall.
Which you do in this game too. A lot of the you hug the wall with your back and shimmy along.
I every time I try to get into this game, I hit a wall with the PlayStation-ness of it, when it's just like, okay, to use your health, press left on the D-pad and then hold the left trigger and the right bumper and press triangle at the same time. And I'm like, dude,
it's much easier when you realize that all you have to do is that every item is equipable and you use the same button to use every item, whether it's a gun or a health pack or whatever. It's just like, this is the button to use stuff. This is what you do to equip stuff.
I miss the days when the zombie games were less complicated. I wish they would make one.
You wish they would make an old new zombie
Go back
game?
to the Zombies Ate My Neighbors days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The nerds won again.
Yeah, the nerds won with The Last of Us. That's for sure. You can't. I mean, I couldn't. I wonder if how it would be playing it with a flight stick. That might make it.
Do you know what I think
more
Josh should play
enjoyably.
with his flight stick?
Yeah, more enjoyable.
Divson.
Oh, remember that game?
No. But so you were saying that you get hung up in the PlayStation-ness of this.
Yeah, but again, that could be an example of what I did not know I did until this episode, which is overcomplicate how the game's played. So
I mean, yeah, you have to go into the inventory, and that's pretty annoying on a controller.
I think so. And how far did I get? So
going into the inventory on DualShock 4, you just hit that little pad in the middle. Boom, inventory.
I think I can play this with the DualShock 4 on my PS3.
I would.
I don't think you can. I don't think the controller's backward compatible.
I think it is now, although it doesn't. I don't think you can use the touchpad or any of that.
I think
they added like native support.
Well, it doesn't work. It probably doesn't work as a touch screen, but it probably works as just a regular
controller.
button.
I like that controller so much.
No, I mean that touchpad in the middle is probably at least just a button. You push it, it just works as a button. I don't see why not.
The PlayStation button doesn't work. I tried it.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, so you can't go to the home screen.
Oh, that seems.
But I got kind of far in that. I don't know how far I got. I fought zombies. I was in a building that was collapsing. Had collapsed, and I was sort of in there, like walking around.
Did you get to Pittsburgh?
Do you start in Pittsburgh?
No.
No, you start in Boston.
No.
Then you didn't get that far.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't get far at all, actually.
I remember there was a part where I thought the
sucked.
combat was so annoying that I would just run to trigger the next scene. Just run past the enemies, and then you could trigger the next scene.
You can do that sometimes.
I like the sneaking around kind of. I thought it had good stealth combat where, we've talked about games like Batman where you start out stealthy and then when stuff goes crazy, if you can still maintain somehow in that flurry of madness, that sort of makes for a good experience.
Yeah, you're calm and cool, collected until you're not, and then it's just on.
Yeah, and that's how I felt that the combat in this game was.
Well, this game, it's like in the Batman games, there's like a very clear like stealth versus not stealth. Like if you get and you hang up on one of those gargoyles, you're almost certainly going to be okay. Or this game doesn't quite have that point where you can like get to the point where you're definitely okay. So you
can get out of it by jumping around from gargoyle to gargoyle, and you're back into stealth again.
Yeah,
and this game, when it's on, it's on.
This game, there's always like at least a little bit of that chaos.
Yeah, you're never 100% safe. If there are enemies in the area, like there is no one spot you can go in that's like a safe zone. You're always at least a little bit vulnerable.
I want to like this game, so I'm going to play it again.
Tell
me about your experience. I'm sure you enjoyed it.
I mean, I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, there are some. I have some narrative gripes that are hard to discuss without kind of spoiling it, and I think that there are some major things in this game that could spoil the experience a little bit.
Are you playing at 60 frames per second or 30?
Spoiler.
There's an option.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to lock it at 30.
Okay. You get better shadows.
Yeah, it's not noticeable.
And your weapons don't decline as quickly.
Oh, right.
Right. No, there's the shadows thing is such a negligible difference that it's not worth it, and the frame rate doesn't really it doesn't really change, or I hesitate to use the word stutter because I never really experienced any stuttering. Frame rate might slow down a little bit in parts, but I mean, it was smooth as heck for, I would say, 90 to 95%.
I asked just because I know that if I had a PS4, that's one of those decisions that I would kind of be stuck on for a while.
I think that there's no reason to lock it at 30. I found absolutely no reason to do that.
Not to play it as the developers originally programmed it, though? I mean...
What do you mean?
Like, it's a 30 frames per second game originally, so I'm sure that they...
But they
did the animations and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, in the remastered version, they optimized it for
post-production,
the PS4, so that it would run pretty consistently at 60 frames a second.
Yeah, I don't think it's the running part. I don't know. It's one of those things I think about, but probably most people don't.
Well, I mean,
because that was originally intended to have 30 frames of animations per second, and I thought maybe that playing it that way is playing it as it was originally intended and originally animated, and it might look weird at 60. Like kind of when you watch did you see The Hobbit with the weird 48 frames per second?
I think you've been reading too much NeoGAF.
I definitely.
I think this is a thing that isn't actually a thing.
Okay. All right.
Kotaku blog?
Yeah, no, I mean games.
Don't forget about it.
Games in 60 frames a second, all good as far as I'm concerned.
All good,
like
good.
I don't need it to be in a lower frame rate so it looks more cinematic or whatever.
Well, there's that, and also consistency, because I think it's variable.
It's not inconsistent enough for you to. I think for me to lock it. It's not inconsistent enough. Okay. Every other PlayStation game I've played, like it's not Bound by Flame, which ran like crap on the PS4.
Was totally inexplicable.
Yeah, it's not like that at all. It's very, very acceptable. Only weirdness I found, and I believe a friend of the show, Kirk Hamilton, wrote a little bit about this in his updated review of the Last of Us Remastered.
Right.
About the weird blood pooling from dead enemies. And it's bizarre. Every enemy, whether it was like a zombie or, just normal human enemy, not infected, they would die, and every pool of blood was like a perfect circle.
Oh, wow.
It was like a perfect circle of blood. So that definitely kind of
I haven't had enough experience killing zombies to know if that's actually what happens or not.
But some of them are humans, and you do have experience with that.
That's true. I did murder a hobo yesterday for fun.
But I mean, you have experience with like liquid spilling on the floor in general.
Yeah, perfect circle, right?
Yeah, everything always falls in a perfect circle. It's just one of those weird sort of. It's a little bit. Somebody programmed this a little bit too perfectly.
Wasn't there a game where maybe it was a Kirk Hamilton thing too, where people found out that if you look at the reflections in the windows, the reflections were of a totally different...
in Watch Dogs. That was something in Watch Dogs. I don't remember who that was, but I read that. Maybe he said something about that in his review. But yeah, it's a little off-putting, but as far as...
Would you have noticed it if he hadn't have pointed it out?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's the only reason why I mention it, because it was very noticeable. He didn't write about the blood pooling in a perfect circle. He just wrote about there being weird blood pooling. I don't think he had the exact same type of weirdness that I saw, but mine, it was just so oddly consistent because it was every single, like there would be 5 dead guys and there would be 5 perfect like polka dots of blood on the
I wonder
floor.
if that stuff's more noticeable on PS4 just because the fidelity is so much better than it is on PS3.
But I mean, it is literally a Japanese flag sitting there. Like there's no, it doesn't matter how good the graphics are or what the fraps are, man. I mean, it's just, it doesn't.
It's like you murdered Spot.
Yeah, it doesn't look like blood. It makes it not look like blood.
You know what a great game to
essentially.
play with your flight stick is?
Spot for what's it? Is it called Spot?
Is it the 7-Up
I think
game?
there were
Yeah.
2 Spot games. One of
The
them
second one was really good, and the first one was really bad.
One of them
No,
was
I'm
like
just
a platformer or
Yeah.
something, and the other one, the one that I played, was like an Othello style board game.
Oh yeah, that sounds familiar.
That game was actually pretty cool.
The platforming one was right up there with the Noid game.
I played that. That was not a good game.
Noid. They need to bring the Noid back.
Yeah, I know that we avoided him for so long. We're doing well.
Have you played that Hitman Go game on iPad? It's really good.
No, but I wonder if it's similar to that cool Hitman sniper game that I liked that came out before the last.
It's not.
It's like a puzzle game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's like Hitman Puzzle Quest.
Yeah. Sort of.
No thanks.
I don't know what it's like other than that it's a puzzle game.
But back to The Last of Us, I think that you should power through it because
Spoiler cast.
No.
Oh.
The controls get much easier to deal with.
They weren't that big of a deal. I think I was in a bad mood every time I've played it.
I found that a game like this that lets you, like, you know, it's all about being very economical with your ammo and stuff like that because there's only so much
Sure.
that you find. And
Rowan thinks the bad controls are part of the narrative, though, right?
It's not
Or they
the
work
bad
well with the narrative.
controls. It's not the
Obtuse.
controls necessarily that I'm talking about. It's kind of the clunkiness of how Joel moves and acts. Like, he seems like he's, a late 30s dude who's trying to, run around and do crazy things. And so he's just like slower than you might expect.
Okay.
At a lot of things, and he's like digging around in his backpack while he's in cover and stuff.
those old men in their late 30s.
30s run around trying to do crazy things.
I
So they should be-
would probably peg him more closer to 50, but
He's got some gray.
but he's lumbering and he's a little
he's a dad.
he's a little sloppy. Yeah, he's a dad.
He's just a dude.
Yeah, he's just a dad dude.
He is the right way you do. You make a regular dude, and Watch Dogs is the wrong way you
Yes.
make a regular dude.
Yes, I would concur with that.
Is
Absolutely.
anyone going to remember Watch Dogs in like 6 months?
I'm so upset that I bought that game.
Well, let's not focus on Watch Dogs then. Let's just forget that. Let's avoid Watch Dogs like
The Watch of Us.
The Watch Dogs is the Noid of the video game.
JS
We'll
ranked Watch
avoid
Dogs.
it. Yeah,
Well, he does that just reflexively.
it's true. In my
You were getting
sleep,
called out on Twitter for not finishing games, which is you're the finisher.
I am the finisher. I finished the last. What are you talking about? I played and finished a game since
I know, but
since
Brad,
the last
Brad
episode.
Galloway was upset that you didn't finish Dark Souls 2.
Oh well, that's a game. I mean,
That's a game, and Divsin.
I didn't want to just devote my life to these two games because if I'm going to finish them, that's
2 months
what
ago
would be
you
involved.
did.
Yeah,
2 months ago you're like, I'm going to devote my life to Dark Souls 2.
yeah, and then I got to the point where I was like, I can't do it anymore. It's enough.
And
It's
that
enough
point
already.
was another game coming out.
My soul has been darkened enough. The Last of Us, on the other hand, is manageable. I'm into manageable games right now.
It's like a 10-hour game.
The Last of Us, I think I probably spent more like 20.
Are there collectibles?
There's
Yes,
comics,
there's comic books. There are. I mean, most of the things that you try to collect are just upgrades. You find these little spare parts to upgrade your weapons at workbenches. You find.
I'm gonna play this game today. That's what I'm gonna do today.
that all
cool.
ends up being pretty pointless, but there's a new game plus where you start with all those upgrades again.
Why is that all end up being pointless?
I didn't find much of a use for a lot of the upgrades.
Oh.
Like I was just upgrading because I could.
Oh, you can upgrade your stuff?
Oh yeah.
Whoa. Is there farming?
Are there turnips?
There's scavenging. There's heck of loot.
Is there landing gear? There's basically landing gear.
There's basically
the landing gear is the using a health item.
Yeah.
Except it's more clicks. I can put my landing gear out with one click.
Well, when you're
I'm
trying,
gonna play with my HOTAS.
When you're trying, you're gonna play with your Thrustmaster.
It's compatible with. In fact, actually, my flight stick has a switch to switch from PC to PlayStation 3 on it.
Really?
It's compatible with PlayStation 3.
So you literally can play with your HOTAS. So as soon as we leave, you're gonna get out your HOTAS, plug it in,
Play
and
The Last
with
of Us.
Are you bummed that your flight stick's not compatible with your X-Bone?
No.
He will be when Star Citizen comes out for Xbone.
You'll watch Netflix with my flight stick.
Flight stick, Netflix.
Oh my god! I didn't even talk about the awesome dudes playing Elite. They downloaded this program that lets you speak voice commands. So you say, initiate landing sequence, and it'll do your landing gear and do all this stuff.
Oh no way! They
killer.
connectified their
Yeah,
Elite,
yeah.
whatever, Elite
rad.
Dangerous.
I want that for The Last of Us also.
Well,
I want another release of The Last
Josh,
of Us.
you just need to get yourself to your first workbench so that you can upgrade some of your guns. You can add like a scope to your hunting rifle that lets you zoom in and
I'm going to.
snipe fools from
He's
a
gonna do
distance.
today.
Gonna do it today.
Couple things I'm going to say. I'm going to give you a couple tips off the bat. Number one.
Oh, we have a new segment.
What's that?
Jay's
Jay's
tips.
The Last of Us tips.
It's a brand new segment. We'll see if it goes past this episode.
His Tlow tips.
Tlow. Let's just go. You know what?
Tlow.
I spent enough time with it. Now let's drop the T and just call it Lou. Captain Last of
Lou.
Us Albano.
Oh, hey, let's say goodbye to our KWTF listeners.
Goodbye, KWTF listeners.
Go to unwinnable.com/Josh and Jay Show for more. Bye-bye.
Unwinnable.com, where video games, comics, and pulp culture is what is on our minds. Looking for an analog feel in a digital world? Follow the exploits of the Unwinnable staff through their voices and words every day at unwinnable.com. Be sure to tune into the Unwinnable Broadcast Network for Unlistenable, the official Unwinnable podcast, Unmixable, our series of mixtapes, and more. Unwinnable. It's good for your brain.
Yeah, because Jay is like the original Jay. Jay-Z is like...
Tlow tips.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, we were talking about on the break that I went and saw Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Now, I didn't realize it until way later in the game, but you're going to want to use your bow and arrows while you're being stealthy because they do not make any noise, so you can pick people off from a distance.
You didn't figure that out initially when
Well-
they gave you the bow and arrow and said, this is what you do to be silent?
Burn.
I guess I was aware that's how they work. I just didn't work it into my repertoire of like things that I was comfortable with combat-wise.
How's the bow mechanics?
Bow mechanics are tricky at first, but then you start to realize that when you hit guys with an arrow, it's one of those things where it's like, it's not just some dude getting shot with like an arrow sticking out of them. It like takes some, they go head over heels if you hit them with an arrow. It's like got a lot of oomph behind it.
Do you have to craft arrows?
No, you find arrows. And sometimes you can pick them up after you've killed people. Like if you walk up to a dude that you've killed, you can pick the arrow back up. So they're sometimes reusable. Also, a little bit later in the game, you get a flamethrower, and those things upgrade the flamethrower.
Upgrade the flamethrower.
I recommend upgrading the flamethrower because when you run into those bloaters, which are the tougher enemies in the game, the flamethrowers come in real handy.
Okay. Charge my PS3 controller.
Charge your PS3 controller.
Ahead of time.
There's
Upgrade your PS3's firmware.
No, that's what happened last time I tried to play this game last week when you were playing it, Jay.
Oh, sure.
I had like a 2-hour ordeal of my PS3 just updating it itself and then The Last of Us because I hadn't turned it on in so long.
I remember doing that. The nice thing about PS4 is that it has that thing where you can start playing the game before it's finished downloading.
Yeah.
Like it just needs.
I don't do that.
It just needs 5 minutes. Well, I don't think you can do that on the PS3.
No, I mean I don't do that on PC or Xbox One.
Well, the Xbox One doesn't have games, and you can't do it on the PC.
The Xbox One does have that
Burn.
feature. And the PC has that feature. You can do it with World of Warcraft, for instance.
Oh yeah, Blizzard has it, but
But they're not the only ones. But
Blizzard
I don't do
has
that
like
because
3 games.
because I worry that there'll be assets or something
Blizzard has Hearthstone,
missing or of a
World
lower
of Warcraft,
quality
and
while
Starstone.
But
I don't trust them that they front-loaded it properly. I just don't do it. I'm scared of getting a worse experience, so I always wait for it to be completely done.
You got to get the condom on.
And there's our episode title.
flight stick.
Thrustmaster.
Thrustmaster.
Got to get the condom on.
Thrustmaster T. Hodis.
Thrustmaster T.
That's
Lau.
that's my new rap name.
Thrustmaster T. Lou.
I did a new Mass Effect Let's Play thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I brought it here so we can upload that.
No thanks.
Yeah, we can watch it upload like as we're podcasting, and we can like keep track of how long it's taking. That'll be real fun for the
Yeah,
listeners.
we probably should have just done that when we, like over the break. Or when
Josh, Rowan's Let's Play of Mass Effect.
Do you care?
Begrudgingly, and I have a chore now to do.
Rowan, do you care?
Anyway, so there's a scene where Shepard is going in and talking to the person who's like, blah, blah, blah. Hey, Shepard, I'm going to tell you what you need to do next. And at the end, Shepard's like, all right, let's go unlock some doors. And I'm like, video games. We have video games entirely. You go through, there are Geth attacking, there's all these horrible things happening. My goal is to unlock doors.
Is that Mass Effect 3?
That was Mass Effect 1.
I don't remember that.
Is the Pharos? When you go into the corporate offices and try to get stuff.
Will you tell me about Clockwork Empires?
No. I've got to go unlock some doors.
Jay? Murdered Soul Suspect?
Are we done with Last of Us?
No, are you?
I guess.
I want to play it. Sounds,
I
sounds
just feel
good.
like there's so much to talk about, but you guys don't seem into
No,
it.
I
so
want to
that's
hear it.
fine.
Tell me about The Last of Us. Tell me about Lou. T. Lou. Tlau.
Well, I was gonna say that one of the other bits of weirdness in this game is how you have your companion with you, which most of the time is Ellie, this 14-year-old girl who is not Ellen Page, supposedly.
Okay.
I don't know if I believe
Take
that.
your word for it.
But it's not Ellen Page.
Is it supposed to be? Or is there some controversy there?
Well, I think she sued them, or she filed a suit for using her likeness. And at first I was like, man, that is so lame. You know, they just put a girl in there who's got what? It's because she's a white girl with a similar haircut. And then I played through the game and I was like,
But
it's
Ellen Page isn't 14. Or whatever isn't she a little girl?
yes.
But isn't Ellen Page not a little
Play.
girl?
You know what? Play the game.
I don't even know who Ellen Page is.
Juno.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Play the game.
And the David Cage game.
Oh yeah, and the Beyond Two Souls. She
Yeah.
was in
Which
that
I thought
game.
you were playing, but evidently.
No, it's another
Beyond the
Souls
Lost
game,
of
and
Us.
it wasn't Dark Souls either.
Beyond Dark Souls.
Just play the game and tell me if whether or not you just imagine it being Juno.
I don't want to be
through the whole game.
deposed.
You might be.
I got deposed.
Really? What happened? What'd you do?
I had the Kingdom of Kiev. I was taking over all of Eastern Europe. I was about to make the Empire of Russia.
You're down with the agnatic primogeniture.
And my vassals all said, let's have an elective succession. And I was like, okay, we'll just have my family be elected. But then the next guy they elected was not my family, so I was not king anymore. And then I couldn't be king again, and it was really annoying.
No more castles for your vassals.
Oh, I had castles
Oh.
and vassals, just not as many. I went from being a king to a duke.
You went from being a king to a dookie.
Clockwork Empires?
No, this is Crusader Kings.
I know. We already know about that game.
That game's been covered.
We did a quick look. That might be a trademark thing, quick look. A giant bomb.
We looked at it real quick.
A fast look.
a rapid look.
We got in, we got out. No one knew.
So The Last of Us is one of those games that everybody that plays it just says, go play it. It's good, right?
It is, but what I was trying to get to before with the wonkiness relating to the weird blood pooling is how when your companion is sneaking around with you, it's obvious that the AI only detects your character, Joel.
Oh, yeah, that
So
makes sense.
you see your little not Ellen Page running around, like literally this guy is looking around like, wonder where they went, boss. and not Ellen Page is like sneaking around doing circles around his ankles. And he's like, I don't know where they went, boss.
So, well, is it better than Bioshock Infinite?
No.
Okay.
It's not. It's like the same kind of thing. Although she doesn't...
Warp? Does she warp into wherever you look?
No, she doesn't warp in, but she'll find you. But I like that she doesn't do the warp in thing. She'll be somewhere and she'll be following you.
She's real. She's physically there.
She's physically there, but she's pretty much invisible. During stealth parts, you can't be found out just because they see her.
That's
they have
good
to
to know.
see you. So you don't have to worry
Yeah.
if you're like standing behind the thing. Because sometimes, we've all done escort missions in games that get messed up because your stupid escort partner does something that you don't want them to do, but since you don't have, direct control over them, it's not up to you.
Like when you're sneaking around in Fallout 3 and then Boone's just like headshots a dude 100 miles out.
Yeah, and you're like, what? I'm trying to be quiet.
You don't even know what happens. You just see the experience thing go cha-ching. Okay.
Totally.
Jay, I think when you lean forward, you turn some sort of reverb on.
There is no reverb.
I suddenly have a lot more feedback in my ears.
Okay, well, that might be something with your headphones. Not quite sure.
I don't know. It happened when you were fiddling with the microphone.
I haven't changed any of the settings on the microphone.
I know, but when you were like pushing on it, that's when it started.
I do not hear
Yeah.
that. Do you still hear it?
Yeah.
Listeners, do you hear it?
Studio audience?
Rowan has taken the flight stick and derailed this episode as hard as possible.
Taking the flight stick it should be the what you say when you're doing drugs in Elite Dangerous. Like, dude, I was taking the flight stick.
It's taking the flight stick, for sure. Well, since I don't feel like I can get any more of The Last of Us out, let's move on to
welcome
whatever
to the
you guys
club.
want to talk to.
Try to talk about a video game. See what happens.
Yeah, it shows me. That's what I get. That's what I get for trying to talk about a video game. What's up with what's Clockwork Empires?
That game looks cool.
What is it?
Clockwork Empires is a new survival strategy game. This is my new genre name. I'm getting ahead of this before people start doing Dwarf Fortress like. I'm doing
It's a Sir Strat.
Sir Strat.
Uh-huh.
Survival strategy game like, RimWorld and Dwarf Fortress and all those sorts of things. Banished.
Little
Okay.
people walk around and do stuff.
Little people, little individual people.
Right? They do their job.
Yeah, they have their little personalities. And no, Goddess is like my first. Did you get that on the
Poopin'
iPad?
game.
It doesn't work. It crashes when I try to look.
Poopin' game.
That sounds very Goddess. That's
Goddess is so not what the Kickstarter purported it to be in every way. It's not populous.
Bunch of scrotums.
It's not even really a god game. I mean, you don't do anything. It's a clicking game.
Well, it's a tapping
Walking
game
simulator.
on the iPad,
Yeah.
Walking
which
simulator.
is probably better. That's why I asked. I assumed that you would get less carpal tunnel from going instead
No,
of.
he came out. He said in an interview, like, we're gonna revolutionize the way that like free to play works and all this stuff. We're gonna do it in a whole new way. That's genius. And it's
600,000 penises.
It's
Exactly that interview.
you just hit the timer, the typical like timer wall, right? It's like, oh, you can't click for another 15 minutes, or spend some money. Like, it's the same. It's not fun to play, and it's not a god game in the sense that your little people are really doing anything, And it's just,
And your job in the game is to make the world boring. It's like, here's a
Yes.
beautiful world.
Yeah.
Now make it boring.
Yeah.
Turn it into subdivisions.
let's not talk about God.
Anyway, Clockwork Empires is like that. It's like a
Awesome.
No, it's like the other games I mentioned,
Yeah.
not Goddess. It's like a steampunk Victorian era thing where your little fake England sends colonists out to a world that is not America, and you have to like build a new colony.
I saw that, and they were doing the typical thing, like going and fetching wood and building stuff, except then some of them could go join a cult.
Yeah, there's like this whole Lovecraftian thing. Like, my colony is surrounded by fish monsters who attack, and then it's sometimes.
Oh, it's like that X-Files episode.
Yeah, they're a bunch of flukemen.
I saw
Poop
that your little
monster.
characters could get into battle and then be disheartened by being in battle and seeing dead bodies. That they go turn into alcoholics and get drunk. Is that a
That
mechanic?
seems possible. That's in RimWorld too. They see dead bodies and they get pissed
Yeah.
off and depressed. And
Yeah, but this is the kind of character that is completely lacking in Goddess.
yes, it's the sort of thing that like Space Base DF9 almost has.
Yes.
But what Space Base DF9 has that this game does not is save games.
Oh, well, it's pretty early, right?
Yeah, it's not even on early access yet. It's on earliest access, which is like the Kickstarter backers and some of the press. It's coming out on early access in August 18th or something.
Yeah, I looked at it and I thought, oh, this looks really cool. I really want to play this, and it's too early.
It's
to
definitely
pay for.
It's too early. It doesn't have the save games, or it doesn't have them that work. I tried to do load replay, and I'm not sure if the replay was a replay of the game or if the replay was the name that they gave the save game, but it crashed regardless. So, and it doesn't seem to have. I mean, maybe I just haven't like built all the right buildings, but it doesn't seem to have like the next layer of stuff. Like, so you build your little shops to like process clay and wood and metal and all that, and they can do that. And then you have a bunch of clay, and then like when you build houses for your dudes, it's like, okay, if I build an upper class house, then maybe they'll use the clay bricks instead of using wood. Nope, they just use wood. So I have a bunch of clay bricks, and I don't know what they're for. Like,
Space Base had a wall like that pretty
Space
fast.
Base had that, except it didn't have something that said there's going to be that.
No. Right.
Right. So, well, it kind of does in that you can have power, and nothing takes power in Space Base.
Oh, that's right. There's the reactor that didn't do anything.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that, only it's like most things that aren't food and wood. And then my characters like don't chop down trees. Like, you know, you click on things. So you click on like berries and click on forage berries, and they'll go and forage berries from that bush and any other bushes that are around there. They'll go and do that. They'll go and mine. They'll go and, you know, I can send my army moon to fight off a fish monster before it gets into my village. I can tell them to hunt. They'll hunt the animals that are nearby. But they don't chop down the trees. They just like don't. And wood is like the most important resource other than food in the early game. And it
just sounds early and kind of broken. But is it? Did you see potential there? Because it sounds awesome.
There's definitely potential. Like it seems to be kind of halfway between Banished and Dwarf Fortress, in that like it's not insanely over Dwarf Fortress complexities, all that. But it's got a lot more personality for the individuals. They will join cults. Like one of the people who ran the shop joined the cult, and instead of the shop being like, you know, Mrs. Frankenmeyer's, you know, hardy carpentry or whatever random generator, all of a sudden it was like gaping maw of the void carpentry.
That's awesome. I read a preview, and it said, or an interview with them, and like each little character kind of has their own story that sort of grows as you play the game. And that when I was talking about earlier, so someone would witness the horror of battle and then go become an alcoholic, but then becoming an alcoholic, they forget the horrors of battle, so they could actually be better soldiers if they're alcoholics, because they don't get bummed out because they forget what just happened to them.
Yeah, there's opium too.
Nice.
You can grow opium.
Really? That
So
sounds cool. I want to
So
play that.
yeah, it's got like this sort of edge of darkness that seems to be like the middle and later game. I just can't get there.
It's like the platoon of survival strategy games.
Yeah. So, but there's no save game, so you know I don't get there. I get to the point where I need wood, and my characters won't chop down trees.
All right. So this sounds like a good game to check out in a couple months.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to bump my preview of it till then, but I'll talk to my editor.
Jay, so you've been playing The Last of Us on PS4?
What did you think of the giraffes?
Oh, that part was so great. Spoilers.
Spoilers. I'm gonna find out.
There's
I'm
giraffes.
gonna find out today. You think I can make it to the drafts today?
No.
I think you can if you like get straight in and are good at it.
You can if you play until 5 a.m.
Maybe I will. Oh my God! Did you know that Risen 3 is about to come out?
Yeah, I saw that.
I just saw some videos for that. That looks all right.
I haven't seen anything.
Like
I want to
Bound
be
by Flame, all right?
surprised.
Better? No, way better.
Well, Bound by Flame actually looked good in the videos.
Yeah, I don't mean necessarily graphically. There's guilds you can join. I mean, it's got some Morrowind in there.
Yeah, man, I told you Risen 2 was I liked it. It's a
That's
good
the
game.
pirate one.
It's the pirate one.
There's a pirate guild, pirate faction.
I'm sure.
I think it comes out next week.
Cool. I'm going to wait until it gets cheap.
Till it's free on Steam.
I mean, I don't know if I don't think I'm going to drop 50 or 60 or whatever.
It's hard
how many
to want to
dollars
play
it is.
an RPG right now after sinking 200 hours into Divinity and only being in the first city.
Yeah, yeah. I've sunk so many hours into Divinity with making so little progress relative to the whole game.
Chunk, though. I mean, it's not. The next areas aren't as. There's no like big city as big as the original.
That's fine, but they just should have made that first city a game. Like that's enough for a game. Like that could be a whole game.
Yeah.
So I moved on to games like The Last of Us, 15 to 20 hour game.
You should try WildStar.
And I'm also playing Murdered Soul Suspect.
What's that?
It's a really interesting, I would say, very elaborate adventure game.
Would you say it's the type of game that Brad Galloway would like?
I think he. I
But
believe
no one else.
I believe he. No, there's a few people who've noted that it's sort of overlooked, underappreciated little gem, potentially. It's definitely my kind of jam. It's real narrative heavy. It's like a police procedural.
Oh, is it the one where you could see through walls? Or shoot, I think I saw a preview of this.
It's like a supernatural police procedural where you are investigating your own death.
You're a ghost. You can see ghosts. Or
You're a ghost.
You're a ghost.
You can see ghosts. You can walk through walls and stuff.
That's what I was thinking of.
Can you dock?
You can dock. You can dock into bodies by possessing them. There are also ghostly figures that you can.
Wait, you can dock. You can possess bodies.
Yeah, you can possess.
Like in Shocker.
No, you can't control bodies. However, or at least not that I've been able to. It's all of the mechanics in the game serve narrative purposes. Mm-hmm. So the whole game revolves around the big overarching case of you trying to solve your own murder, which happens at the beginning of the game. You find clues that are sort of clues to your life, your background story, your character's own personal deal that sort of tells his general story outside of just what's going on with the murder, but these take the form of like collectibles that you find, little diary entries of his girlfriend or wife or whoever.
What are you playing this on?
PS4.
Oh, okay.
It was on sale on Amazon, and I grabbed it for pretty, I don't know, almost half of what it is on PSN. I don't know why games are always so expensive on PlayStation Store, but that's surely the most expensive place to get any game. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
They do sales sometimes.
They do. Well, I guess I picked up that Injustice game on the cheap. That was nice. But if you like police procedural stuff, this is sort of along the lines of like a Sherlock type game.
Oh yeah, there's a new Sherlock.
Oh, are you telling me there's a new Sherlock? Because I got it marked on my calendar.
Is it a current gen?
Yeah.
Really?
PS4, Xbox One. It looks
Take
good.
the day off of work.
It looks good, man.
Watch the download bar.
It looks good. No way. You set that thing going like the night before, and then that morning you're ready to go. That's what I did with The Last of Us.
You can play as the pipe.
Yes.
Doesn't he have a pipe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sherlock does. Yeah.
I just saw the
Can
other
he
day
play
on
with
my
the
bookshelf.
cocaine?
I've got the Sherlock Holmes collection. I never read it.
Good for you.
Are you a fan of the literature as well?
I haven't read it for a while, but yeah, I've read some Sherlock stories. Of course, it's classic.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle? Is that right?
There you go.
Okay.
So-
No wiki.
So Murdered.
Josh and Jay's literature podcast.
Yes, welcome
Yeah.
to Masterpiece Theater.
So every sentence ends in a question mark.
Does it? So in Murdered Soul Suspect, which is that the title is a pun because like soul is
You're right,
spelled
Soul Suspect.
Soul,
Gotcha.
but you're like the only. Well, actually, I guess there's only like one suspect, but also your guy is like an A&R rep for Motown Records in the 70s, so
What?
it's like Soul Suspect. But if you like police procedural stuff, it's less like Sherlock in the sense that you're not you're not using deduction boards and that kind of thing. You collect clues through, I don't know, the controls. You kind of find these little static apparitions that you piece together with controls, and it's like I said, it's all very like 3D sort of faux open world. Like adventure game stuff. It's
What do you mean?
over the shoulder, third person, like obviously 3D environment.
Now, how is it open world?
Well, because you can walk around and
Oh, okay.
to different areas, but it's pretty fenced in.
Right. So
There's
it's not
pretty much
open.
only the garage.
I don't know what that
I don't know
means,
what that
but
means. Have you played it?
The garage, like in Star Citizen, where all there is the garage.
Oh, gotcha.
no, you can do more than that. But I'm saying it's a neighborhood that's laid out in a way that it makes you feel like you can walk all over the neighborhood. It's designed to make it seem like
Right.
it's this open area where you can just trek around wherever, even though it's totally fenced in. That's what I mean by
But
like,
you can
faux
leave one
open
building
world.
and go to another building?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
There's different areas that you enter as you progress. You investigate different areas, but it's all about collecting clues, and you'll see other ghosts that you can talk to. And there are side missions where you'll run into a ghost who's like, oh my God, what's going on? I don't even know that I'm dead. What happened to me? And then you can sort of solve their murder with pretty easy to find clues that are like right in front of them. Like, I have no idea why I'm here. Like, well, maybe these 5 clues that are within 5 feet of you could tell you what happened if you knew to look.
It's like they have a library book they need to return.
But since your guy is a detective, he can apparently find these things that they are just totally oblivious to.
That means that he always has detect magic running, and they don't because they're not detectives.
Right, exactly.
So he can see the clues.
So there is a little bit of like you can quote unquote die, video game death if you're investigating. Usually it's within some sort of structure. You're in a house or a church
you're a
or
ghost.
wherever. Yeah, you're a ghost, but there are these demons. You're caught in like a limbo, and right, it's that.
What happens if you die?
Well, I'm getting there. There's like that cliche of you're caught in limbo and you need to settle some unfinished business on this world before you can move on to the afterlife. But there are demons that also dwell in this limbo that can take you out, that are looking to like feed off of these souls and that are stuck. So if you see them,
suspect.
you have and they're suspect and they've been murdered. So there's a button that you hold down that's sort of like X-ray vision that will show you where all these little ghostly apparitions are that you can. They're not
Do some
actual
peeping.
Yeah, they're not fully formed ghosts. They're just like these little areas that you possess them the same as you would possess a person, but it's like a hiding spot. If you're possessing one of these little vapor apparition things, then the demons can't see you.
Ah, like the locker garbage can mechanics from Bully.
Yeah. Similar to that, yeah.
Peek out and see what's going on.
And you can see what's going on, and then when they turn their back, you sneak up on them and you can like take them out, make them disappear. But it has to be stealthy, and then if they see you, they shriek and they freak out, and it's like, oh crap, and you have to try to get away. It's kind of lame. It's I have to say, it's
that's the box quote.
They
Josh and Jay show featuring Rowan Kaiser. It's kind of lame.
It's kind of lame.
7 or
I
out
think-
of 10 or whatever.
It reminds me of how Deadly Premonition has those combat parts. Oh, you don't know, Rowan? No, nobody.
That's how we started here.
So you have to shoot these ghosts in Deadly Premonition, and the rest of the game is all just traveling around the town and interviewing people and doing like all the RPG stuff that you do in a game besides the combat.
Right.
And this game, like that, I mean, it's obvious they felt like they needed to stick something in it that was like, oh, you need to get away from the bad guys at some point, or like deal with bad guys in real time. So they stuck this thing into the game so that it's not all just like, sort of you're very passively kind of moving around just.
But that's the fun part.
That's the fun part, I think, is collecting all the clues and actually piecing stuff together. I just wish it was a little more complicated somehow. It's sort of like you find clues that add up to a scenario or a conclusion, and then it will say, what are the pieces of evidence that you found that lead you to the conclusion that solves this murder or this mystery? And you sort of have to choose from the clues one at a time. And you have like these 3 little police badges that if you choose the wrong one, then if they're like 3 strikes and you're out, I guess. But I've never gotten to the point where I've used all of those strikes, so I don't even know if it's possible to fail or not. I have a feeling that it's not really possible.
Not
to
as
fail.
complicated not as difficult as Sherlock, where you actually have to solve.
Not quite. Sherlock is a little bit more.
When's the new
involved.
Sherlock game come out?
September 30th.
All right, I gotta jump in at some point because Sherlock is like your Rush, Like, do you know anyone who likes Rush? I do. I know a guy named Prof K, a friend of mine. He likes Rush, and he's like people like Rush are like into Rush, and you don't really understand it.
Oh, you mean the band Rush?
Yeah.
Sure, I like Rush fine, but yeah, I am aware that there are some people who are like
really into Rush.
You're
You're really into Sherlock, or maybe you're just into Sherlock and no one else.
No,
is.
I'm just. It seems like
Brian
I'm really.
Taylor is.
It
that's true.
It seems like I'm really into Sherlock because I'm into it at all.
Yeah, right.
Which is
Okay, gotcha.
1,000 times more than anybody else is into the Sherlock games.
Okay.
So relatively speaking,
Maybe I'll get the Xbox One game
yeah, you should.
in September. There's a lot of video games that are about to come out.
Did you see that they released like a 20-minute gameplay video of the new Sherlock, and it looks freaking rad.
That's awesome.
It looks really good.
Pretty half-hearted there, Josh. Wow, that's awesome.
What was that?
I don't know.
I'm pretty stoked that they're delaying a bunch of games to next year because there's so many games coming out already.
We got Sherlock.
Yeah.
We got
Dragon Age.
Although that got delayed, didn't it? Only
No.
by like a month.
Yeah.
It's still coming out this year.
Fallout 4.
Fallout 4 comes out by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah, Half-Life 3.
Half-Life 3. What's that? Mordor?
Goddess 2.
Shadows of Mordor.
Oh yeah, the Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
game.
Oh
But
god.
this time, it's going to be really a good game worthy of the movies.
Speaking of, real talk. Burn. I watched a 20-minute gameplay video of the new Assassin's Creed game.
Why would you do that?
It looks kind of rad.
Which one? The new one or just the new one?
The Unity, the one for current gen systems. There's one for 360 and one for Xbox One. One for old gen and one for new gen. Those two. There's 2 Assassin's Creed games coming.
Yeah, there's another pirate one.
I only know that there are 2. One is called Assassin's Creed Unity, and it's for current gen systems, and there's another one for old systems.
It's called Assassin's Creed Rogue or something.
Yeah.
That's only coming out for previous
PS3
gen systems.
Yes.
I did not know about this distinction. All
I
I know
don't-
is that all of a sudden people are talking about Assassin's Creed Rogue, and I'm just like, why the fuck are there so many games in this fucking series?
Anyway, the actual new one, the current gen new one, looks rad.
I still don't know which one that is, but I'll
That
believe
one's
It's the
you.
one
Unity.
that
The French Revolution one.
yeah, with the 4-player co-op.
With the no female animations.
yes, that's the one.
Gotcha.
They've dispensed. I know I'm gonna fucking get caught again with Assassin's Creed and not play it, but they dispense with the fail states when you're like in a mission. And
When you're
someone.
following people.
Yeah, and it would desynchronize because you
Game
got
of
too
the
far
year.
away. You know?
Oh yeah, I know.
Because you fell asleep.
They've added a proper stealth mode, so you can switch between stealth and not stealth, which always bothered me about those games. I don't know. Looks pretty rad.
I'll save my enthusiasm. I mean, look,
You're the only one that plays these games.
I loved the
Here.
last Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, you did.
Of us.
Black Flag. It was good. It was really good. I look forward to another pirate game. I find it hard to believe that the pirate Assassin's Creed game that already came out on the current gen systems, that a sequel to that's another pirate Assassin's Creed game, is not coming out on the current gen systems. That doesn't sound right. That makes
Yeah.
no sense.
Xbox 360, PS3, well, PC,
That's so weird, though.
because that's not the real next game. The actual next game is the Unity. Like that's the big one, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean,
Ubisoft. Okay.
they already have all the pirate boats and all that stuff working on the next gen systems or the current gen systems. Why?
I don't know.
Ubisoft.
That's so dumb.
Ubisoft.
Poopin' game.
So you were excited about the pirate game? Played on PC.
No. No thanks.
That was a good conversation.
Master Race.
Play Risen 3.
That I'll play.
I thought you were done with RPGs.
I'll make an exception for Risen.
Wasteland 2 got delayed.
That's
it?
fine.
I'm happy about that.
To what?
Just like 2 weeks or something in September instead of the end of August now.
No. Is so I have access to that now? Is it done for me? Is it done for the early?
I don't
access?
think it's done, but I think
It's
that
pretty
the
close, probably.
latest update apparently is like the big sheen of. I saw people tweeting about how now it's got like it looks like a game, you know.
Oh, okay.
That's good. That's a good start.
God, Divson was the resurgence of me being super stoked about old school RPGs again, and the end of me being stoked about big epic
It's
old school RPGs. again.
Divinity Original Sin is like that machine from The Princess Bride where he's like, I've just sucked 1 year of your life away.
Yeah.
Like that game is, I felt after 50 hours of playing through just that first town, like it had sucked, 10% of my life away, and I didn't want it to suck anymore.
Well, you played
Any more
Kingdoms of
percents.
Almenbar, right?
A little bit.
See, that one kind of had a sort of similar issue for me, which is that I was doing every side quest.
Oh yeah,
And
it's
I
got a
don't
lot
think
of
you
them.
should do that in that game because I ended up playing a lot of that game, but not getting very far at all.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of side quests.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
I think the key difference is that in Kingdoms of Almenbar, it's just too big. Like they just stuck too much stuff in it. Where the issue with Divinity is not that they stuck too much stuff in it, but that it takes too long to figure out the best ways to progress.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then eventually, like, it gets more and more difficult to do that. Kingdoms of Amalur, you're just, like, constantly... There's just way too much stuff to do. Whereas in Divinity, it's harder to figure out what to do and then harder to do that.
Yeah, especially I think it really gets lost in that second act as to which way you're supposed to go or what order you're supposed to do things. Although, there is... Like, if you're fighting enemies that are too hard for you, that's how they tell you not to do something. But
Except it takes the game way too long to actually say that's what it's doing.
Right.
It looks like it's an RPG where you're supposed to follow the quest system.
Yeah.
And then it's not.
Right.
It's more like the King's Bounty games where you're supposed to figure out which level is appropriate for you.
Yeah, because I had quests that I was not supposed to do yet.
Yeah,
Like,
and
well, I
there's
have them.
there's just absolutely no indicator that you're not supposed to yet.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a game that has a good quest system.
King's Quest.
No.
Oh. Quest for Glory.
Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
Who doesn't want to talk about that?
So we'll see you next week.
I really wanted to play that game, so I drove to the ghettoest GameStop in the world
You could have borrowed it from me.
out in Richmond. Oh, I didn't know you had it.
I have a bunch of DS games.
There's the only GameStop that had a copy of it used. So yeah, I've been playing it. I
How
don't know.
much was it used? Has it gone up in value?
It wasn't a lot.
So $20, 15.
Less.
Okay.
Like 15 or less for sure. I think. I don't know. I like that game. I like that game more than Final Fantasy Tactics.
The original Final Fantasy Tactics is, I think that overrated is like generally a bad criticism to make. It's like you're dealing with people's perception instead of like actually getting into what the thing is.
I liked that game a lot.
But Final Fantasy Tactics is overrated.
The
The original is just not a well-designed
I
game.
really liked it when it came out. I played it. It was good.
And it has very good things about it, and those good things got taken to Final Fantasy Tactics Advance and A2.
Well, right off the bat.
And the bad things
yes.
didn't.
Because right off the bat, I started a Final Fantasy Tactics game recently as well. Right off the bat, I'm grinding. Like after the first initial couple battles.
Yeah.
I'm grinding away, trying to get these squires to level 4 thief, and just running back and forth on the map, getting in random battles.
And the original
Isn't that
you were
every
talking
Final
about.
Fantasy game?
Kind of. But in Tactics Advance 2, which has a horrible... The story in Tactics Advance 1 is much better, but the mechanics in Tactics Advance 2 are much better.
I think the story in both of them is pretty negligible.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, because
Yeah.
it's not really about that.
Whereas in Final Fantasy, the original Final Fantasy Tactics, it's like story,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like,
you don't
wow,
even
this
know
story
what's going
seems so cool, and then it turns into another religion is evil. There are gods trying to
Yeah.
kill everything.
But in Tactics A2, in Tactics A2, you can, when you're purchasing items, you can compare them to the items you have.
Yeah, the big problem with Tactics Advance 1
Yeah.
is that there's just not enough information.
Right.
In a tactics game, you need to be able to see information, how much damage stuff is going to do,
Yes.
all of that.
Yeah.
And the Game Boy Advance screen was just like, here's this little tiny screen, you can only see one thing. And then the DS, there are two
There are
screens.
2 screens. It's great.
One is for the stuff that's happening, and the other is for the information.
And
It's
I'm not
amazing.
grinding. There's enough little missions to grab that I don't need to grind.
Yeah,
It's fun.
it becomes about the combat instead of about the progression, and it creates a bunch of missions to have it be about the...
About how many ninjas I want. All ninjas.
I tried to get one of every class, and that was possible in Final Fantasy Tactics Advance because it's just like there's a good amount. There are like 15 classes, and then in A2 they just like doubled the amount of classes,
it's
and it's
crazy.
just like that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to pick and choose, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. Do you still have your DS?
yeah,
Oh, nice.
I got my pink DS. I can play my Final Fantasy Tactics either Advance or
Is it a DS Lite?
yeah.
That's the best system ever.
I mean,
Nintendo!
you can make a case for that, especially as an RPG fan, that like if you're gonna get one system, that is
Yeah. Well, folks, I feel like we're winding down.
What makes you say that?
I don't know. What do you want? Oh, hey, you want to talk about The Last of
I
Us?
could go for 5 more hours. Yeah, The Last of Us. We haven't talked about that, right?
All right,
Hey,
so
what'd you think of the ending?
So we'll see you next week.
so use my bow. Hot tips: use my bow.
Use your bow if you want to be stealthy. You think of your bow as a stealth sniper rifle.
Ninjas are overrated. Go with samurais.
Okay. Yes, I know that. I knew that one.
Upgrade your flamethrower.
Upgrade my flamethrower.
When you get to the bottom of the hotel in Pittsburgh, it fucking sucks, and you should use a guide.
Would
I
you
don't know
agree
what
with
he's
that?
talking about. I didn't use a guide through any of this game. This is like one of the few games I did not use a guide for anything.
There's this one part where it's very easy to get lost, and if you didn't get lost, then more power to you, Jay. But I did.
Rowan's just bad at video games. Don't listen. No, I think you'll be fine. I mean,
use
if
guides.
you get
I
stuck,
use guides all the time.
if you get stuck, use a guide. But
I
I
have-
wouldn't
I have a
say
job and stuff. I need to
w-
use guides
I
when I-
wouldn't say like go just sit there with a guide right off. You know, as
I'm going
your-
to S rank it just
as
with
your
the
main.
guide.
Hey, if you get stuck underneath a hotel in Pittsburgh, that's okay.
I want to play this game because I loved the story that I was participating in, and I want to see what happens.
It's good. It's what I like about the story in general is that it hits some fairly like well-worn territory with some sort of cliche plot twists. However, the way it resolves those twists are often not cliche, so it's interesting.
Yep.
And on that note, that was the doorbell, so we're out of here. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening, everyone.
That was our drug dealer.
Unwinnable.com/JoshandJay Show, at Josh and Jay Show on Twitter. Thanks, everyone.
Turn it on, I'm ready to go.